Ladies and gentlemen, fans of suffering on two wheels, we just witnessed the annual tactical disaster class that is Milan-San Remo, and once again, the cycling gods have spoken. Mathieu van der Poel remains the king of the Poggio, and Tadej Pogacar is left wondering how the Dutchman seemingly defied physics. Yes, you read that right. The 2024 edition of La Primavera followed an all too familiar script. Pogacar tried to turn the race into a climbing event, spent most of the last 20Ks conducting an informal FTP pace test, and was promptly discarded like an expired gel when Van der Poel decided it was time to win the race. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's break it down properly and take a look at Tadej's reactions and how he felt after the race. No doubt he wasn't very happy. The setup. Tadej, calm down. The Milan-San Remo route never changes much. At 294 Ks, it's 5 hours of watching a bunch of very fit men roll through Italian countryside, followed by 10 minutes of absolute carnage. As expected, UAE Team Emirates showed up with the same plan they always have: burn every domestique alive, shred the peloton early, and hope that Tadej Pogacar can drop everyone on the Poggio. Someone should tell them that this plan has a 0% success rate so far and doesn't work anymore. With about 50 Ks to go, UAE started burning matches like they had a surplus warehouse full of them. Mark Soler, Vergaard Stake Langen, and Tim Wellens took turns turning the front group into a sufferfest. Pogacar, of course, was sitting there looking like he was about to go on a casual 7 watts per kilo effort just for fun. The inevitable Pogacar Poggio slam. It has become a tradition. Tadej Pogacar reaches the Poggio, decides this is a Tour de France stage, and hammers the pedals like he's trying to win Strava KOMs instead of Milan-San Remo. And so at around 600 metres from the top of the Poggio, Tadej launched what we can only describe as a Hail Mary attack. Was it explosive? Absolutely. Did it drop Van der Poel? Not even slightly. In fact, Wout van Aert and Filippo Ganna were both still there, clearly not amused. The Van der Poel special, where 400 metres to the top, Van der Poel, still cool as a cucumber, decided it was time to demonstrate that Milan-San Remo is not won by those who attack first, but by who attacks best. And so with one big smooth acceleration, Van der Poel erased the gap, past Pogacar, and then did that thing he always does, where he just casually rides away like he forgot he was racing against World Tour professionals. So, Pogacar's response? There wasn't one. You could almost see the moment that the Slovenian realised his legs had crashed out. Post-race, Pogacar admitted to himself, quote, "I maybe went too early. I thought I had the legs, but when Mathieu went, well, you saw what happened." Yes, Tadej, we saw it. We saw the exact same thing last year too. Van der Poel, meanwhile, had the audacity to be completely chill about it. Quote, "It felt good. I knew if I waited, I would have the best legs at the top." The solo Van der Poel show. At this point, Van der Poel simply engaged fast-forward mode, gapping Pogacar, Van Aert and Ganna in about 0.2 seconds. The gap went from 1 bike length to 3 seconds before the descent even began. On the descent, Van der Poel did what Van der Poel does best. He took lines no one else dared take, barely touching the brakes, and he looked like he was in a Red Bull Rampage event instead of a road race. By the time he hit the final flat stretch, the gap was 8 seconds. Game over. The post-mortem. Van der Poel cruised across the line for back-to-back Milan-San Remo wins, leaving the rest of the field to fight for the scraps. Pogacar rolled in 4th, looking like a man who just realised he had 250 watts left in his legs and 700 watts worth of ambition. After the race, the Slovenian summed up his performance. Quote, "I tried to go full gas on the Poggio, but I think I used too much before that. Maybe next year." Ah, yes. Quote, "Maybe next year. We'll see you here again in 2026, Tadej, and we are sure you'll try the same thing again." Meanwhile, Van der Poel's response was classic Van der Poel. I knew if I could follow, I would have the best chance. It worked out perfectly. Translation: I knew if I just waited for Pogacar to self-destruct, I could win with half the effort. Final takeaway. At this point, UAE Team Emirates needs to rethink their San Remo strategy, because here's the thing, you cannot turn Milan-San Remo into a climbing race. It never has been, and it never will be. Pogacar, for all his brilliance, still hasn't figured out that San Remo requires patience. If you attack full gas on the Poggio, you better be ready for Van der Poel to counter with something even more violent. Until Tadej learns this, we'll just keep watching the same movie every March. Tadej attacks, Van der Poel follows, Van der Poel counterattacks, Tadej gets dropped, Van der Poel wins. See you next year for Milan-San Remo 2025, where Pogacar will inevitably, quote, learn from his mistakes and do the exact same thing again. Before we start dissecting how Tadej Pogacar may or may not get jealous when he loses to Mathieu van der Poel, let's establish that fundamentally there's a profound mutual respect between these two. Pogacar has been effusive in his praise of the Dutchman's abilities. He's a fan, and it's evident every time they cross paths in interviews on the podium. Tadej has said on multiple occasions, quote, Mathieu is a rider I really respect. He has the ability to win in any kind of race. Mountains, flats, everything. He's a fighter, and I like that. This quote shows that Pogacar's view on Mathieu van der Poel is positive. There's an underlying acknowledgement that Mathieu is an opponent who thrives on versatility, something Pogacar himself is trying to master. Pogacar's known for his impressive climbing and time trialling. He's still coming to terms with the fact that Van der Poel's multi-discipline prowess gives him an edge in certain races that require a balance of power, skill, and tactical nuance. But let's be honest, there's always more under the surface, isn't there? Jealousy. Pogacar's subtle defeatism. Now when it comes to jealousy, let's take a closer look at how Tadej reacts when Van der Poel outshines him. There's no public triad, no over-the-top displays of frustration like some of us may expect from cyclists who've grown used to winning. But there's certainly something there. Tadej, the quiet, composed champion, has a tendency to internally process defeat, but that doesn't mean he's above feeling frustrated when his great rival gets the better of him. Perhaps the most telling example came after Milan-San Remo 2022, when Van der Poel made a late, decisive attack on the Poggio. Pogacar, who had been one of the pre-race favourites, found himself distanced and struggling to close the gap. The frustration was palpable in his post-race comments. Quote, I tried my best, but Mathieu was too strong today. I thought I could follow him, but he went away in a way I couldn't match. It's tough, but that's racing. I'll try again next year. There's a certain bittersweetness in Tadej's words. He's not someone to openly admit feeling jealous, but you can hear the resignation in his tone. The question remains though, why couldn't he match Van der Poel's attack? This wasn't a question of what, but of tactics, timing, and quite frankly, a little bit of luck. But no matter how much Tadej wants to bottle that frustration and turn it into motivation, it's clear that he knows when his opponent has the upper hand. What do you guys think? Comment down below in the comment section with your opinions. Leave a like on today's video and also subscribe if this is your first time here to stay up to date with all of the latest cycling news, cycling drama, and of course, cycling race results. Catch you guys in the next one.